these incidences to the Ministry of Communications and IT. There is a department within the Ministry of Communications and IT, which is called the Cyber Emergency Response Team, who handles if there are cyber crime issues. But related to social media, even the ministry does not understand how to handle issues like that. Sometimes these are referred to the security agencies like ANDS, the Afghanistan National Directorate of Security, or Ministry of Interior. So there's a lot of confusion on that part, but fortunately we have we're partnering with Facebook to launch a online safety campaign in Afghanistan so that people understand how they can be safer online.
There are a lot of complaints from women and social media who use social media in particular in countries like Afghanistan that they're harassed online. What should be done in that aspect? Is that because of the lack of awareness how to use social media, or what should be done from the government and from the private sector involved in technology and internet? So sorry.
On the government part, I believe the government needs to work on laws and regulations, but definitely in partnership with the civil society and private sector, technical communities as well. Like the social media networks could be a very good partner on creating, developing, or proposing policies in Afghanistan related to social media and the cyber victimization issues. And then enforcement of these laws and regulations. Unfortunately, one of the issues we have in Afghanistan, there are laws and there are regulations, but they're not properly enforced. So people also would need to understand where to go if there are cases like that. In other countries, they have pretty much, you know, a systemized or a mechanism in place where in awareness created where people understand if there were cases, you know, related to cyber victimization, they understand where to go and how to report them. In Afghanistan, then on the citizens' part, civil society and private sector, they need to create more awareness in the country so that people know. For example, Facebook has a lot of users in Afghanistan, and it's the most popular social media network in the country compared to other social media networks. Now, if there are so many people connected with Facebook every day and they're putting their content, pictures, videos, you know, other sensitive information, for example, but they do not understand how to say, you know, how to keep them safe and how to, you know, manage their privacy levels and all. Now, Facebook needs to provide that kind of information. It did, but the people do not understand how to access them. I've been looking into Facebook's online safety tools. Fortunately, we have the Facebook representative here, Ritesh, who might be able to discuss more about that and show us how they're addressing this. But the online safety campaign we're planning with Facebook will really, you know, it would be a good start on our side to create awareness among young people and the social media users in Afghanistan on how they can be safer online. And I will share the details about how we are planning to do that.
Can you tell us, according to Afghan laws, are cyberbullying or online stalking illegal? Are there certain laws for online sort of crimes?
Well, I think the penal code, Afghan penal code, does not have anything related to the harassment issues, but I don't see the online harassment more different than the street harassment. um, because that's a breach of a person's privacy. You know, when it's on the street or online, you have an identity, and you're online like you're physically there on a street, and somebody harasses you. So the government, there should be like penal code should particularly have, articles on how it should address the cyberbullying and harassment or cybercrime issues.
Thank you. Uh, Mr. Fox previously said that Facebook has turned to kind of a dating website in Afghanistan too, but at the meantime, the extremists and the terrorist organization, they're also using social media such as Facebook, Twitter to recruit people. What do you know of that in Afghanistan, if you could tell us? Mr. Fox. The use of social media by extremist organizations to recruit people.
I can't really comment on that. I mean, my social media experience in Afghanistan is not very dramatic. It's more like, I try to make some funny posts. I get some, friend requests from Afghans, and sometimes if I write something on a sensitive issue, there's some name calling involved, some defriending. Okay, as far as what ISIS or the Taliban are doing on Facebook, that's not really something that concerns me, because I'm just, I take photos and I do market research. So I'm sorry, you should probably, you're like a journalist, so.
Because in the other world, in the Middle East and Western countries, the Islamic State in particular are using social media, Twitter, Facebook to recruit a lot of people, and there's a significant presence of some extremists and radical young people on social media too. I would like Omar Ansari if he would want to talk about this issue.
I think on the how terrorists use that was the topic. I think Majeed Qarar would be a better candidate to respond to that. Probably he's online. What about asking him, and then we can.
I have one additional note on that. ISIS and the Taliban have not attempted to recruit me on Facebook yet. I'm still waiting for their pitch.
Hello. Can you hear me? This is Ritesh from Facebook.
Hello, Ritesh. Can you hear us?
Hi. Yeah, I can now hear you guys and see you guys.
Welcome. I'm not sure if you were following the session from the very beginning, but my name is Habib Khan Tatakhil. I'm journalist for the Wall Street Journal, and I moderate the session. And I have next to me, I have Omar Mansour Ansari, the president of Technician, who would be talking about Facebook Online Safety Camp. And I have David Fox from AM Consulting, and he's talking about social media trends in Afghanistan. So welcome. And also we have Majeed Qarar, who's a social activist in Afghanistan, attaché in DC embassy in Washington, DC. And he'll be talking with us about how do social media empower social movements in Afghanistan. Do we have Qarar on the line? Qarar, can you hear me?
Stop recording and start again.
Hello, Mr. Qarar, can you hear us?
Okay. So
He's online.
while we wait, there are a couple of things that I wanted to share. I know I'm joining late. We had some technical issues. So while we wait, I am happy to share a couple of things that I wanted to make sure we are able to cover. And if if you would like me to do that later on, I'm happy to do that later on as well.
I would like to ask you, since you'll be talking about uh, how Facebook help communities, how social media help communities, if you could talk about that to us a little bit.
Sure, absolutely.
How,
So
how exactly Facebook help communities in social media?
absolutely. So there are a few ways that we see technology helping communities, and the two ways that we see technology driving the biggest change. The first one is, of course, the social change that it drives, and then the second one is the economical uh, benefits that the technology overall delivers. At Facebook, our focus areas essentially are those which is how does the platform help entrepreneurs? How does the platform help social causes, etc. So from a social causes perspective, you've seen our tools being used at the time of crisis. So, for example, uh, safety check is a tool that we have where under any natural calamities, both Facebook can activate this tool. For example, if there is an earthquake, Facebook knows about this, will activate, and people are able to mark themselves safe. So what this allows people to do is essentially make sure that their friends and families they are able to know whether they are safe or not, affected or not, and then communicate. We've also made this tool more public. Now communities can start their own safety checks. So this is now not just in Facebook's hands, but communities can activate their own safety checks. So that's another area where we try and give back to the community, and make sure that our tools are being used in a way that help each other stay in touch in at times of crisis. The other part is economic empowerment. So we get lots of examples every now and then in terms of how people at the grassroots level are using Facebook and its tools to drive economic empowerment. The most recent example that I've seen from Afghanistan, and a really interesting one, is there is a group of women in Herat who have started a Facebook group, and what they're doing is there are a few thousand of them connected to this Facebook group, and then they're using this Facebook group to buy and sell things, not just with each other, but to a wider audience as well. When I read the article in the press that talked about that, what they've talked in the first 9 months of this group being in existence, they have sold things roughly worth 1.5 million US dollars. Right, so this is like more than what a shop or a store would do, but this is like phenomenal trade activity where they've also talked about how they've sold land and houses using a Facebook group that they've created. There are formal programs that we are looking forward to bringing to Afghanistan, where we do entrepreneurship trainings, both for regular entrepreneurs, as well as we have a program called She Means Business that focuses on women entrepreneurs and providing training on how these tools could be used for economic empowerment. And then the last thing that I will talk about in terms of um, driving social change is the area that you guys were touching on when I joined in, and I only caught the last part of it, which is uh, tackling extremism online. So we believe that creating a counter narrative is the best way to tackle some of the challenges that we face in terms of online extremism. And we have a program that's up and running in Afghanistan for the last couple of years called peer-to-peer program, where there are 9 Afghan universities like Kandahar University, Balkh University, Kabul High Institute of Education. These are all Afghan universities that are part of the 9 universities that are participating in this program. And this is a program where professors and students take part, and they essentially design social media campaigns that they then run on Facebook and essentially drive awareness around counter extremism, build productive narratives, build positive narratives, which is the most effective way uh, of negating a lot of the negative elements and driving the right conversation. And then I'm sure Mr. Omar would have talked about the online safety trainings that Tech Nation is helping lead in Afghanistan, and the nationwide training program that they're going to launch that focuses on online safety and ensuring that people are aware of the various tools that we have available, so that lack of awareness is not a reason for why people are not feeling safe online and are having a great experience. So that's fairly quickly, just in a nutshell, how we see social media and technology overall impacting change across different stratas of society.
Significant role in social change. The good example would be the Arab Spring that happened, and Facebook had a significant role in that. But at the meantime, in Afghanistan, for instance, we see a lot of Taliban sympathizer or Daesh sympathizer or their supporters using social media, and they're mostly posting things on local languages, Pashto or Dari. It's easier for people who post in local languages. Do you have some sort of measures in place to identify those kind of users?
Yeah. So for every content that's posted on Facebook, we have the ability for a user to report this content. Uh, what we do have is we have a team that is an expert in local languages that reviews these reports and sort of takes action. So if the team finds anything that's reported that's violating the community standards that we've set up, the content comes down, and a lot of the time the people who are posting these content that are against the community standards, we also take action against these accounts as well. So these things happen repeatedly. We have a strong report and takedown mechanism, so we actually take this very seriously. We have, as I said, we have people who speak the local dialects and languages who are reviewing these reports, and acting on that. So yes, we take it very seriously. We have a mechanism to uh, address that concern, and at the same time, we also work closely with uh, organizations to make sure that we are driving a productive, more positive conversation to counter a lot of those uh, uh, negative messages that you talked about that are available online.
Do you have any figure to provide us with that how many accounts has Facebook taken down annually? Because I think Twitter had taken down 100, removed hundreds of thousands of Twitter accounts associated with extremists or their sympathizers. Is there any sort of data available on that?
Yeah, so we don't share those numbers publicly for any region across the world. We only share numbers that arise from government takedown requests, but we don't share the numbers that happen through report and takedown mechanism that our users initiate.
Thank you. If anybody from the audience have a question, uh, does anybody have a question? Please introduce yourself. Please.
Hello. This is Abdul Rashid Ludin. I'm participating from the civil society. Recently, we had in news that a delegation from Pakistan visited the Facebook headquarters to tackle the pages which are against the national interest of that country. So if we arrange that, and there are many pages in Afghanistan, those who were supporting extremism or racial hatred. So if we arrange a delegation on a high level from government and they visit the Facebook headquarters, so can Facebook authorities help us in this regard? Because these pages are very dangerous to our national interests. Thank you.
And
So yeah, I'm not aware of a delegation visiting Facebook's headquarters because I'm based out of our New Delhi office in India, and don't know everything that goes on in the headquarters. So I can't comment on that specific instance, but it's not a common practice for page takedowns when a delegation has to visit. If the pages are violating the community policies that we have set up, and people have reported it, then they will be taken down after review. A delegation doesn't have to visit the Facebook offices for that. That's exactly why we have the report and takedown mechanism. And also, each government across the world has a connection into Facebook's law and enforcement outreach, where they are able to work with them on specific issues. So I highly encourage you to ask the government to reach out to their contact at Facebook's law and enforcement uh, team, so that they're able to work with them directly. There shouldn't be a need for them to go to Facebook's headquarters physically. We have existing channels we use for uh, concerning content.
Qarar, can you hear us?
Can everyone hear me there?
Yes, we hear you, Qarar. Welcome, and I've introduced you 2 times, and so I would like to please briefly talk about how social media empowers social movements in Afghanistan, and then we'll take a question from the audience, and we'll go back to the panelists.
Yeah. So first of all, thank my thanks to the audience. This as a tool. Tools are in the middle. Everyone can pick a tool and use it. And this is similarly as any other tool that terrorists or extremist organizations might be using. Social media is also in their reach. But overall, the infrastructure of the social media and also the nature of the social media giving a voice to deprived people, giving a voice to people who has been in isolation, like for example, women or youth from poor communities. The nature of social media is much more pro moderate and pro democratic movements than those of extremist networks. But of course, extremist networks has been very smart using social media networks, especially that it is a communication mean that targets an audience or an individual directly. So one of the characteristics of the social media as a medium of communication is that it has the characteristic of direct and indirect communications, the good sides of direct and indirect communication tools. Like for example, with direct communication tools, you could have a target an individual and have a good memory and impact of a message that you give or pass to an individual. That exists there. And with indirect tools like TVs, you could have targeted a big volume of audience, and that is also feasible through social media. So social media, as any other tool, is used by the extremist networks, but the nature of social media and what naturally comes with social media and the infrastructure that it provides, that it equally provides an opportunity of having a voice to everyone. Naturally, it is pro democracy, pro goodness and moderation. I hope you were able to hear me. I didn't hear.
I said that in Afghanistan, social media are any other country in the world. Social media is being used by people to pressurize as a pressure tool to pressurize the government. But now we see a good example would be Governor Atta from Balkh, that he's so much adopting to this new technologies, and he knows for those who are using social media as a pressure tool against them. How do you see social media impacting politics in Afghanistan in the future? Uh,
Mr.
before
Qarar, can you hear us?
I can hear you now, but I wasn't hearing.
قرار صاحب ما پښتنه تاسو واورېده نه
نه متاسف سوال نه دی اورېدلی.
پوښتنه مې دا کوله په افغانستان کې اوس سوشل میډیا خواله رسنۍ د ځوانانو لخوا او د خلکو لخوا نه they are using social media as a pressure tool against government officials. But now we see the government officials and power brokers and those influential figures adopting themselves to these new technologies and are countering those who are using social media as a pressure tool against them with the social media. How do you see that, and how do you see the impact of social media on politics in Afghanistan in the future?
As I think one of the characteristics of social media is that it cannot be manipulated. Since the campaigns that are done through social media, they are mostly self-governed or self-organized, mostly coming from the grassroots by the meaning of word. So it's very difficult for people, especially the government officials, to control it. Social media, however organized, it's still an unorganized platform, and that's it. That is what makes it difficult for people with certain agendas to have any kind of censorship over social media, and that also makes it difficult for politicians who have certain agendas to adopt themselves with social media. In order to do that, they have to have the popularity needs. And they have to have people educated with what they think and convinced. So it's not the way that they deal with media, that they will have a messenger and they will force people or compel people to listen to them as they would do with a TV channel or a radio channel that are not that much interactive. Social media is interactive, it's audience driven. The messages are coming from the society, so it's difficult for people with certain agendas to manipulate social media as easily as other mainstream media channels.
I think you will take a question from the audience. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you for recognition. My name is Alisina Dost. My question goes to Mr. David Fox. How do you expect the future of social media in Afghanistan, like you have mentioned, the trends in Afghanistan, social media trends in Afghanistan, people making fake Facebook accounts to intimidate or people in bars, people anonymously. How do you expect it overall? And what approach should we take to diminish it? Thanks.
I think I'm pretty positive about the future of social media in Afghanistan. I think a lot of these things that are new here, that were actually new to people in the United States and Europe and elsewhere years ago, people are going to get used to it. Let's take, for example, Afghan women having Facebook accounts. When I first started kind of being known to Afghans on Facebook, and I started accepting friend requests and meeting more people, it was very rare to see an Afghan woman who was using her own photos, her own profile picture. And you all know that, they'll use pictures of rainbows and, whatever weird crap they find on the internet. But now you see a lot of women that says, look, I'm not using Facebook to flirt or to find a husband, but I want to use it like, like the boys do. And they'll post their own profile picture. They'll, when they go out with friends, they'll post their photos like regular people. And, in the beginning, it was a couple of very kind of forward-thinking Afghan women who, started having their own Facebook accounts and started uploading their own photos, and they took the lion's share of the abuse, the harassment, the attacks through fake Facebook profile picture, fake Facebook accounts. Now with all of these women who are, who want to use social media normally, and I even get high school girls. I do a lot of filming here in Kabul and in the provinces, and I interview young women for NGOs and other organizations, and sometimes they'll just start writing and saying, hello, this is so and so, you interviewed me for whatever project, and they'll be 16, 17 years old, and it's not like they're flirting or anything. I mean, these are high school girls, but they grew up knowing about this technology, and they grew up when they're 14, 15 years old starting a Facebook account. So I think we're going to see, a lot of this bullying, this social media harassment. I think people are going to, you can only harass so many women a day. There's only so many hours in a day to set up fake Facebook accounts and use them to harass women. So I think when more Afghan women are on Facebook using it and posting their photos, then we'll have less of this issue of harassment for most women.
Thank you. I'll have one last question for Mr. Mehta, and then if there's any more questions from the audience, we'll take them too. Mr. Mehta, can you please tell us about this, since safety is quite important, online safety is very important in this era, and what is Facebook planning to do in the future to further strengthen the user security, and what is this online, if you could tell us about the online safety training you have with Technician, as I've been told by Umar Ansari, President of Technician, that you have that you're going to start this initiative. If you could please elaborate on that. Thank you.
Sure. Sure. Thank you for the question. So while I will talk about how we approach online safety, I will let Mr. Umar talk more about how we are going to approach the online safety training, because they are clearly the experts at it in Afghanistan. So he definitely has more details to share on that. In terms of how Facebook approaches online safety, it's our number one priority, and making sure that the users who are using Facebook, they have the tools and the knowledge to be safe online. So it starts with protecting your information that you share on Facebook and your data. So we within the product, we have strong privacy and safety tools available that are easily accessible from your phone. And also we have lots of information available online already for somebody who is savvy enough to just look up. For example, how do you make sure that random people are not able to add you as friends? How do you protect your privacy of your photos? How do you protect privacy of your data? How do you ensure that not everybody is able to tag you if you don't want to be tagged? So there are lots of privacy and safety options that we have available within the product, and this is something that we continue to work on. So as time goes on and people's both the usage of people and behavior of people change, we will make sure that we continue to adopt the tools and practices that we have available within the Facebook framework. As Mr. Omar earlier pointed out, the tools are available, but a lot of the times the awareness around those tools is not great. So that is the primary reason why we have partnered with Tech Nation to do these online safety trainings offline, so that our local partners can go and talk to individuals about how they can stay safe online, what are the tools and systems that are available for them, how do they leverage them in the best possible way, and ensure that they're able to protect their information and their data in the best possible way. So if Mr. Romara has further details to share, over to him.
Mr. Would you like
Yep,
to add?
sure. Thank you, Ritesh and Habib. With the online safety campaign, we initially discussed this in Brazil with the Facebook team that in Afghanistan there are so many problems. People are not aware of the fact that they're online and they cannot put whatever they like on a website, on social media, and then if they put it, there are certain privacy measure they can take care of, because sometimes they went into trouble when they have posted so many personal items on the web. We have developed this partnership with Facebook since then, and this project is called Online Safety Trainings or Online Safety Campaign, which we have already kicked off, and we'll be starting with a number of trainings throughout the country, mainly in Kabul and four cities, three cities of Herat, Jalalabad, and Mazar-e-Sharif. But before we do the trainings, we conduct a stakeholder analysis to identify partners like from civil society, public sector, tech community, and Afghan citizens, people who are using social media actively, or they're creating, for example, apps for social media or policies, they're engaged in policy and regulatory issues, or other community engagement programs, so that we understand better the issues and challenges people are facing in Afghanistan. And we develop these partnerships, and through that we then reach out to different people. And then we create and utilize a content hub, which will be hosted on the Tech Afghanistan, which is our technology information and resource portal. It's going to be in 3 languages, so that people can access information related to how they can be safer online. This portal is going to be hosting Facebook safety guide in other video and text material, so that people can easily access them in Afghanistan. And then we'll be doing a training of trainers in the country, and these trainers will be trained by Facebook. So they can go to different provinces and different schools where they can provide training to young people and social media users on the safety issues. The campaign on safety, online safety, is going to be launched through the social media as well. So there will be a massive awareness on social media, mainly on Facebook. And this campaign, social media campaign, is going to be sponsored by Facebook, so that we can reach to a huge number of the Afghan citizens who are utilizing social media. And then there will be so many workshops, discussions, and we are also hoping that we could do some TV and radio roundtables where we would be inviting people who are active on social media or people who are victimized, so they can share their experiences, and that's going to be a learning opportunity for us as well, so that we can review our plans and programs in strategies and do a better safety training and campaign.
We're going to take one question from the audience over there.
Hi, my name is Aziz Taqwa, and I'm the chairman for Internet Society Afghanistan. I think a huge problem out there exists in misuse within the social media currently in this country. Main reason being is that since the literacy rate being just below 30%, so I think people can only do things, and people only do things that their capacity allows them to, and that their capacity can handle. That's why such misuse is happening. So the question is that what can we do to build on people's capacity to make sure that a better use of the internet and a better use of the social media is happening? When we're talking about a better use of the internet, we mean using the internet for education and for research purposes, and get people outside of that social media box, because currently people are living within the social media box and all they know is typing something on Facebook and tapping on post and it's gone. How reliable is that information? And people have stopped trusting the social media contents nowadays, especially in Afghanistan, because everybody's posting things online without that coming from a reliable source. So if we educate people on how to better use the social media, that's one part of the question. And then second part is that what can we do to make sure that people are using the internet for education and research purposes and for e-business and things like that, but not just stay or live within that social media box. Thank you.
Who would you want to answer the question?
I would say one part can go to Mr. Omar Ansari, because from Technation he's done so much on social media. So educating people on making better use of the social media, he could be the best person to answer. And David Fox made a good comment. Your phone gives you notifications, and your phone allows you to take selfies. Fair enough. I mean, it's a phone, it's a smartphone, it's a tablet, or whatever. It allows you to do all of that. But the smell, the touch, the sense, and the feel that you get out of a book, you don't get that out of a smartphone. So a smartphone, in my perception, will never be able to replace a book. Thank you.
Okay. A couple things. We live in very strange times. I mean, absolutely strange, bizarre times in terms of, accessing news on social media. We have a president in the United States who is an absolute clown, a degenerate, racist. I want to try to not use words, but it's difficult. But an absolute degenerate idiot who regularly shares false information with over 25 million followers on Twitter. It's the president of the United States with no sources. So it's tough to look at Afghanistan, where people are also kind of getting their news from sources that are questionable and saying, well, if the president of the United States, one of the most developed countries in the world, is doing this, how do we in Afghanistan be better than that? And actually, with the situation in the United States right now, that's actually within reach for Afghans to kind of do better when it comes to sharing news sources and trying to verify where information is coming from. Regarding one point you mentioned about personal, social media, in some ways taking the place of actual face-to-face human interaction, I would say that should be a concern for everyone around the world. You go out, I use Facebook a lot. I love Facebook. But when I'm with a person, I put my phone in my pocket and I put it on vibrate. I do not take my phone out when I'm interacting with a human face-to-face. When I make a post on Facebook, I unfollow my own posts so that I'm not getting notifications all day when I have work to do. So Facebook and other social media platforms have so much benefits in terms of widening your network of people. I'm in touch with people from all over the world. I used to live in Jordan before I moved to Afghanistan. I have lots of European friends who are now back in Europe and other parts of the world. I can keep in touch with them. I can keep in touch with my friends from high school, my friends from college on social media. But at the same time, I recognize that if you're always looking at your phone, and especially when you're in the same room with someone, you're at dinner with your friends, you're at dinner with your family, and you're looking at your phone, that's a problem. And I see, and also these parents, they don't want to raise their own kids, and they just give them a smartphone. They give them a tablet, and they say, play with this. How is that child going to be able to sit down and read a book when they grow up if they're constantly playing on these devices? So there are real concerns, especially for parents, but even for grown-ups, about how we can, kind of evolve in this digital world, this social media world where Facebook wants to give us notifications all the time. All the time, they're constantly changing their platform. And I hope this gentleman at Facebook is listening to this. They're constantly changing their platform so that you're always on your phone more. Okay, they're always adding these features. Oh, share this memory from 3 years ago. That's the new one from last week. Okay, because they want you on their phone. That's how they make money. That's how they sell shares on the New York Stock Exchange. Okay, so keep that in mind when you're on Facebook, you're on Twitter. These platforms make money when you are on their platform more. Okay, they're sharing these engagement statistics with potential buyers of their company in terms of stocks sold on the stock exchange. Okay, so there are lots of benefits to Facebook. It's a free platform. We don't have to pay for a membership fee. Okay, but remember this one piece of advice: if you're not paying for a product online, especially, then you are the product. Okay, they're selling your profile. They're selling your data to marketers who are buying that data. So that's the end of my remarks.
Dave, that's a big concern among a lot of Facebook users and generally among social media users, that the social media is increasingly commercializing, and also it's an addiction. I would like Mr. Mehta, if he could talk about these, how do Facebook address these concerns from people that it is becoming increasingly commercialized. We see another trend that we see in Afghanistan right now is that all the government officials who don't have anything interesting to tell people, they sponsor their pages. And every day when we scroll down, we have like 10, 15 government officials sponsor Facebook pages are saying nothing interesting. How do you address those concerns with Facebook user in particular?
Sure. So thanks for the opportunity, Habib, and I would love to address some of the things that have been brought up so far. So first of all, what I want to sort of like talk about is everybody who uses Facebook is in control of their own experience. If you don't like something that you see on Facebook, you have controls to make sure that you don't see them again. Whether it's an ad or whether it's a piece of content, you always have control over things that you are not interested in, marking them so that Facebook doesn't show you those things going forward. So people should explore those options and make sure that you're curating your own experiences. So, for example, Habib, if you're seeing things that you're no longer interested in, if they're ads or non-ads, you'll always have options and say this is not interesting, not relevant. I want to hide this, or I don't want to see this, and you won't see it again. In terms of Facebook becoming addiction, this is essentially like it's a platform that people choose to use. So if someone chooses to use it for a shorter period of time versus a longer period of time, that's an independent individual choice, and it's not something that we control necessarily. It's something that users control. And then the same thing goes for notification, right? So David talked about this, where he shuts down notifications when he doesn't want to, which is a choice that every user out there has. All of 2 billion people who use Facebook has this exact same choice, which is notifications. If you choose to receive notifications, you get notifications. If you turn off notifications, you don't get notifications, right? So this is a platform that is curated for each individual, and people choose to use it in a specific way that they choose, that they prefer to use it. So I think we've given a lot of control, more control than most other services would give you, in terms of curating your own experience, and then we respect the users' choice to make sure that they are able to control their own experience, whether that's about the type of content that they see, the notifications that they get, and the experience that they have on Facebook. In terms of a couple of references to Facebook selling users' data, that's absolutely not true. We do not sell any piece of data to anybody. We do not share this data with third parties. When you see ads on Facebook, that data is not transmitted to the advertiser. advertiser asks the Facebook and say, I want to show my ads to similar these types of individuals, and Facebook does that. So the data is not shared, the data is not sold. Those are pieces of misinformation that I'm glad I have the opportunity to correct and ensure that people feel that the data is safe and secured. As I mentioned earlier, your privacy, your safety, and your data's privacy and safety is something that we take very, very seriously, and we put a lot of effort in making sure that they're not compromised, and we will continue to do that forever. And then also, like Facebook is a tool where we just talked about how it has helped political uprisings, social services, economic empowerment, bringing people out of poverty. Every tool has its potential, so I think it's also up to people in terms of how they use these tools, whether they're using it productively, what side of the debate do they choose to be. And we will always have players who try and take advantage of these. And as I said, we are creating tools where you can report false information, you can report things that violate community standards, and we have systems in place to ensure that we are taking down things that violate community standards. And it's a platform that we are continuously evolving as times are changing. Sometimes we'll be ahead of the curve, sometimes we'll have to play catch up, but we take the responsibility towards users very seriously.
Thank you, Ritesh. As the last question of the session, before we conclude the session, I'll ask Mr. Karar that how do you see in Afghanistan, how do you see social media impacting or changing people's mindset toward particular issues, since you're one of the top Facebook users in Afghanistan who started campaign against extremism, against the Taliban and the Islamic State and all those extremist groups. And how do you predict social media in the near future in Afghanistan, and how would it change people's mindset to particular issues such as democracy, human rights, and things like that? Thank you.
Yeah, no, very positively. So far, very positively. Although there are actors who will act bad, as if as with any other tool, but so far the changes that we have already seen. Uh, for example, the religious narratives that were normally proposed from certain addresses coming to Afghanistan is now challenged by the crowd, by the normal people. People have gotten a voice on religious issues. So the religious platforms like mosque and other occasions where only specific type of people would use to deliver messages are no more influential, and they are no more in control of that one certain group. So everyone can come on religious issues, and that's one thing. On politics, as you have seen, Facebook and social media has already given a voice to youth from far parts of country, or while otherwise they would have not had this chance to, for example, criticize a governor and challenge him. We are witnessing these examples every day. Normal youth from poor families, they are able to challenge governors and even trail them and even force them to react to what they say on formal media or mainstream media. And the economy side, as you see, the literature of Afghan politics is gradually, due to the social media, is changing into an economical literature instead of the ethnical or ideological literature that we used to deal with. We all witnessed the Roshnai movement, although some aspects of that movement were political, but at the other hand, it was a big progress for the society, as it was for the first time that people were arguing for good for their future, for economy, for development projects, while otherwise in the past they have been normally quarreling over political issues, over ethnic issues sometimes, or ideological issues. Culturally, there is a big difference now. For example, women didn't have a voice at all, we can say, in some parts of the country. But nowadays, with the use of Facebook, the literacy has improved widely, and women have gotten a voice, whether with a fake account or a real account, but they have gotten that access. That's a big change. So overall, I think that have been quite positive on all aspects of life, culturally, on the economy. For example, people are doing marketing for their goods and products and their companies. On a political side, as I said, the literature changing into a more positive literature, although there are problems and one cannot contradict that. The most important side or use of social media, as you also mentioned, was use of social media against extremism. Since extremism is normally, the messaging from the extremist networks used to come from certain specific channels, and now those channels are not that influential to challenge everyone. So on social media, the messages or the reaction or the interactions that are happening on social media, these lead finally to collective wisdom from the society, that the collective wisdom is challenging the extremism. So individuals against society, it's natural that the individuals won't be able to win. Extremists are either individuals or small groups of individuals. So when they confront a society, when the society is given a voice to say something against them, then of course the individuals and the small groups are not able to confront a crowd. And as we say, the khalq zur, the khuda zur.
Thank you, Qarar, since we're going to have another session soon here. So I thank you for staying up late since you're online from DC. So thank you very much. And thank you, Mr. Mehta, and thank you, David Fox, and Mr. Mansour Ansari for participating in this panel. And thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. Thanks a lot for the invitation. Great being here. Thanks.